Have you ever felt that desperate need to hold on? That fear that letting go means losing everything? We've all been there. That relationship you can't seem to end even though it's draining you. The job that's killing your soul but provides security. The grudge you've carried for years that's become part of your identity. What if I told you that the most powerful move you could make isn't holding on tighter, but letting go? Welcome to a journey through one of life's greatest paradoxes, the extraordinary power of surrender. I'm going to share with you why the act of letting go might be the most transformative decision you'll ever make. And to guide us, we'll be drawing wisdom from one of history's most profound psychological thinkers. Carl Jung once wrote, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." This simple yet profound statement holds the key to understanding why letting go isn't weakness. It's the ultimate strength. Today, we're going to explore how attachment keeps us trapped, why our fear of letting go actually prevents growth, and how we can harness Jung's insights to transform our relationships with ourselves and others. By the end of our time together, you'll understand why the things you're desperately clinging to might be the very things keeping you from becoming who you're meant to be. So take a deep breath, open your mind, and prepare to discover why letting go isn't just necessary, it's a power move. The attachment paradox. We're conditioned to believe that attachment equals security. From our earliest moments, we learn that holding on means survival. As infants, our attachment to caregivers literally kept us alive. But what served us then doesn't always serve us now. Jung understood this paradox deeply. He observed that our psychological development requires both connection and separation, a dance between attachment and release. He wrote, "The greatest and most important problems of life are all fundamentally insoluble. They can never be solved, but only outgrown." This is the first key insight. Some problems can't be solved through tighter grip. They can only be transcended through letting go. Think about water for a moment. When you scoop it up and squeeze your fist, what happens? The tighter you grip, the more water escapes. But open your palm, and water can rest there calmly. Our attachments work similarly. The tighter we clutch, the more likely they are to slip away or cause us pain. I remember my own struggle with this principle. For years, I clung to a vision of success that was never truly mine. I pursued a career path that looked impressive from the outside, but left me feeling empty. The more I tried to force myself to love it, the more miserable I became. It wasn't until I finally let go of that narrow definition of success that I found work that actually fulfilled me. Jung would describe this as releasing the persona, the social mask we wear, to discover the authentic self beneath. He believed that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But to become who we truly are, we must first release who we are not. This brings us to the heart of the attachment paradox. Our greatest security ultimately comes, not from holding on, but from developing the courage to let go. True strength isn't found in clinging to what feels safe. It's found in releasing what no longer serves us, even when that release feels terrifying. Why we fear letting go? Let's be honest. Letting go is scary. There's a reason we resist it so fiercely. Our attachments, even the painful ones, provide a sense of identity and familiarity. As Jung noted, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Our attachments often operate from this unconscious place. We don't question them because they feel like inevitable parts of who we are. The relationship we can't leave, the grudge we can't release, the past trauma we can't process, the expectations we can't surrender. Jung believed that much of our suffering comes from this resistance to natural change. He wrote, "Resistance to the organized mass can be affected only by the man who is as well organized in his individuality as the mass itself." In simpler terms, to overcome our collective fear of letting go, we must first understand our personal resistance to it. There are three primary fears that keep us holding on when we should let go. First, the fear of the unknown. What's waiting on the other side of release? Will I be okay? What if letting go leads to something worse? Jung would argue that this fear ignores an essential truth. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. The unknown, while frightening, also contains all possibility. Second, the fear of losing our identity. We often define ourselves by our attachments. I am this relationship, this career, this struggle, this belief system. Jung recognized this when he wrote, "The shoe that fits one person pinches another. There is no recipe for living that suits all cases." When we've built our identity around something, letting it go feels like losing ourselves. And third, the fear of admitting failure. Letting go sometimes feels like conceding defeat. Jung had profound insight here too. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Sometimes letting go requires admitting we were wrong, that we've changed, or that what we thought would fulfill us doesn't. That acceptance requires tremendous courage. I faced all three of these fears when ending a long-term friendship that had become increasingly toxic. For years, I made excuses, remembering the good times and hoping things would change. I feared what my life would look like without this person. I feared who I would be without being known as their friend. And I feared admitting that this relationship, which I had invested in for so long, had become unhealthy. When I finally let go, the immediate feeling wasn't relief, it was grief. But Jung understood this too. There is no birth of consciousness without pain. The pain of letting go was the birth canal for a new, more authentic way of being. The shadow of attachment. Jung developed the concept of the shadow, the disowned parts of ourselves that we refuse to acknowledge. He wrote, "Everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is." Our unhealthy attachments often live in this shadow realm. We don't want to look at why we really hold on, because the truth might challenge our self-image. So we create noble-sounding justifications instead. I'm staying in this relationship because I'm committed might really mean I'm terrified of being alone. I can't leave this job because I need financial security might really mean I don't believe I'm capable of succeeding elsewhere. I can't forgive this person because what they did was unforgivable might really mean my anger gives me a sense of control I'm afraid to relinquish. Jung believed that integrating the shadow, facing these uncomfortable truths, was essential for wholeness. He stated, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." This shadow work is crucial in our journey of letting go. We must be brutally honest about why we're holding on. Is it really for the reasons we tell ourselves? Or is there a deeper fear or need driving our attachment? I've seen this repeatedly in my own life. When I examine my strongest attachments, whether to people, possessions, or beliefs, I often discover that beneath my logical justifications lies something more primal: fear, insecurity, the need for validation. Jung wrote, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." This awakening requires facing the shadow aspects of our attachments. Consider a common attachment many of us share: the need for approval. We might justify people-pleasing behaviors as kindness or consideration, but when we look deeper, we often find a shadow belief that we're not worthy of love unless we're pleasing others. Letting go of this attachment means facing that painful belief head-on. The shadow isn't just about negative aspects, though. Sometimes what we need to integrate are positive qualities we've disowned. Jung observed, "In all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder a secret order." Even our most chaotic attachments contain wisdom if we're willing to listen. The individuation process. This brings us to Jung's concept of individuation, the lifelong process of becoming our most authentic selves. Jung described it as the process by which individual beings are formed and differentiated, having as its goal the development of the individual personality. Individuation requires letting go. We cannot become who we're meant to be while clinging to outdated versions of ourselves or others. Jung wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. This transformation is impossible if we refuse to let go. Growth demands release. Think of a snake shedding its skin. It cannot grow while clinging to its old covering. The shedding process might leave it temporarily vulnerable, but it's essential for its development. We're no different." Jung believed that the psychological rule says that when an inner situation is not made conscious, it happens outside, as fate. In other words, what we refuse to let go of internally will be taken from us externally, often in more painful ways. I've witnessed this repeatedly. The relationship we refuse to end eventually implodes in spectacular fashion. The job we cling to despite our misery eventually lays us off. The grudge we nurse eventually consumes us from within. The individuation process offers a more intentional path. By consciously choosing what to release, we participate in our own evolution rather than having it forced upon us. Jung stated, "The first half of life is devoted to forming a healthy ego. The second half is going inward and letting go of it. This inward journey requires tremendous courage. We must face our fears, examine our attachments, and make conscious choices about what no longer serves our growth." Jung reminds us, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." But the rewards of this awakening are immense. As we let go of what doesn't serve us, we create space for what does. As we release outdated identities, we discover more authentic ways of being. As we surrender our grip on the past, we open to the possibilities of the present. Jung wrote, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." This choice becomes possible only when we're willing to let go. The alchemy of surrender. Jung was fascinated by alchemy, not just as a literal attempt to transform base metals into gold, but as a metaphor for psychological transformation. He saw in these ancient practices a symbolic representation of our inner work. Jung wrote, "The alchemist saw the union of opposites under the symbol of the tree, and it is therefore not surprising that the unconscious of present-day man, who no longer feels at home in his world and can base his existence neither on the past, that is no more, nor on the future, that is yet to be, should hark back to the symbol of the cosmic tree rooted in this world and growing up to heaven." This metaphor of the tree offers profound wisdom about letting go. A tree must release its leaves in autumn, not as an act of loss, but as preparation for new growth. The letting go is part of its vitality, not its diminishment. Surrender, in this alchemical sense, isn't about giving up. It's about transformation. Jung observed, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain. The pain of letting go becomes the crucible for our growth." I experienced this when I finally released a long-held belief that I needed to be perfect to be worthy of love. This belief had driven me to exhaustion, creating endless pressure and robbing me of joy. Letting go felt like losing my compass. If perfection wasn't the goal, what was? But in that surrender, something alchemical happened. As I released the need to be perfect, I discovered the freedom to be authentic. As I let go of impossible standards, I found compassion for myself and others. What looked like loss became my liberation. Jung wrote, "The pendulum of the mind alternates between sense and nonsense, not between right and wrong." Often what we think we can't live without becomes the very thing preventing us from truly living. And what we fear will destroy us becomes the doorway to our freedom. This alchemical perspective invites us to see letting go not as diminishment, but as transformation. What appears to be loss is actually making space for something new. What feels like death is actually rebirth. Jung believed that your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. This clarity often comes only after we've released what's clouding our perception, our attachments, our fears, our need to control. Letting go in relationships, perhaps nowhere, is letting go more challenging or more necessary than in our relationships. Jung had profound insights here as well. He wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." This transformation requires space. When we cling too tightly to others, trying to control them, fix them, or prevent them from changing, we actually inhibit the natural evolution of the relationship. Jung observed, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." Our attachments in relationships often reveal our own insecurities. The jealousy that drives us to control a partner might reflect our fear of abandonment. The need to fix others might mask our discomfort with imperfection. The inability to establish boundaries might stem from a belief that we're not worthy of respect. Jung wrote, "Where love rules, there is no will to power. And where power predominates, their love is lacking." True love requires letting go of the need to control. It means allowing others the freedom to be themselves, even when that's uncomfortable for us. I learned this lesson painfully in my own relationships. For years, I tried to shape partners into what I thought I needed, rather than accepting them as they were. I created elaborate justifications for this behavior. I was helping them improve. I was creating a better relationship. I was protecting myself from hurt. But as Jung noted, knowledge rests not upon truth alone, but upon error. Also, my knowledge about these relationships was built on the error of believing I could find security through control rather than acceptance. When I finally began practicing the art of letting go in relationships, releasing expectations, surrendering, the need to control outcomes, accepting others as they are, something miraculous happened. The relationships either transformed into something healthier or naturally concluded, making space for connections better aligned with who I was becoming. Jung wrote, "The shoe that fits one person pinches another. There is no recipe for living that suits all cases." This wisdom applies powerfully to relationships. Sometimes letting go means accepting that a connection that once fit perfectly no longer serves either person's growth. This doesn't necessarily mean ending relationships, though sometimes it does. Often letting go in relationships means releasing our projections, expectations, and attempts to control. It means loving people as they are, not as we wish they would be. Jung believed that the greatest and most important problems of life are all fundamentally insoluble. They can never be solved, but only outgrown. Many relationship challenges fall into this category. They can't be solved through tighter control, only outgrown through deeper acceptance and sometimes loving release. Letting go of the past or attachment to the past, both positive and negative, can become one of our greatest obstacles. Jung wrote, "We cannot change anything until we accept it. Condemnation does not liberate, it oppresses." This acceptance is not resignation, but recognition of what is. We cannot change what has already occurred. We can only change our relationship to it. Jung observed, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." This powerful statement reminds us that while we cannot undo the past, we can choose how it shapes our future. Many of us carry wounds from childhood, failed relationships, missed opportunities, or mistakes we've made. These experiences form what Jung called complexes, emotionally charged clusters of memories and associations that influence our present behavior. Jung wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Our unexamined attachments to past hurts often drive current decisions in ways we don't recognize. We avoid intimacy because we were once betrayed. We don't pursue opportunities because we once failed. We hold ourselves back because we once faced rejection. Letting go of the past doesn't mean forgetting or minimizing what happened. It means releasing its power to determine our present and future. Jung believed that in all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder, a secret order. Even our most painful experiences contain wisdom if we're willing to integrate rather than avoid them. I struggled with this after a significant professional failure early in my career. For years, this experience colored how I approached new opportunities. I became risk-averse, perfectionistic, and defensive, all in an attempt to prevent history from repeating itself. It wasn't until I recognized how this attachment to past failure was limiting my present that I could begin the process of letting go. As Jung noted, the pendulum of the mind alternates between sense and nonsense, not between right and wrong. What had once seemed sensible, protecting myself from further failure, had become nonsensical, preventing me from fully engaging. With life, letting go of the past requires forgiveness of others and ourselves. Jung wrote, "The acceptance of oneself is the essence of the whole moral problem and the epitome of a whole outlook on life." This self-acceptance includes making peace with our history, even the painful parts. When we release our grip on what was, we open to what could be. As Jung reminds us, your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. That clarity emerges when we're no longer viewing the present through the distorted lens of past attachment. The art of active surrender. There's a misconception that letting go is passive, that it means giving up or checking out. Jung's understanding was far more nuanced. He wrote, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." This awakening through introspection is anything but passive. Jung advocated for active surrender, a conscious, intentional release of what no longer serves us. He believed that the first half of life is devoted to forming a healthy ego. The second half is going inward and letting go of it. This inward journey requires tremendous courage and awareness. It's not about abandoning responsibility, but about choosing consciously where to direct our energy. Jung observed, "We cannot change anything until we accept it." This acceptance is the first step in active surrender. Active surrender involves three key practices. First, awareness. We must become conscious of our attachments and honestly assess whether they're serving our growth or hindering it. Jung wrote, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." Our strongest attachments often trigger our strongest emotions, a clue to their significance. Second, acceptance. We must acknowledge reality as it is, not as we wish it were. Jung noted, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." This acceptance extends to our circumstances, relationships, and limitations. It doesn't mean resignation, but clear-eyed recognition. And third, action. Based on this awareness and acceptance, we must make conscious choices about what to release and how. Jung believed that knowledge rests not upon truth alone, but upon error also. Our actions won't always be perfect, but they should be intentional. I practice active surrender regularly now, though imperfectly. When I feel myself clinging to an outcome, a relationship, an identity, a belief, I pause to examine what's happening beneath the surface. What am I really afraid of losing? What am I trying to control? What would happen if I let go? Jung wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious, active." Surrender requires facing these shadow aspects of our attachments, but the reward is profound. As we practice letting go with awareness and intention, we develop what Jung might call a more individuated relationship with life, one where we participate consciously rather than react unconsciously. The unexpected freedom of release. There's a beautiful paradox in letting go. What feels like loss often reveals itself as freedom. Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." This becoming requires releasing who we are not. When we let go of relationships that drain us, we create space for connections that nourish us. When we surrender outdated identities, we discover more authentic ways of being. When we release our grip on the past, we open to the possibilities of the present. Jung observed, "There is no birth of consciousness without pain." The initial pain of letting go often gives way to unexpected lightness. Like removing a heavy backpack we've carried. So long we forgot it was there, we suddenly find ourselves more agile, more energetic, more free. I experienced this when I finally let go of trying to please everyone, a futile endeavor that had dominated much of my life. The initial fear was intense. If I stopped trying to make everyone happy, would anyone still value me? Would I still belong? But what followed was liberation. As Jung wrote, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart." With the noise of others' expectations dimmed, I could finally hear my own inner wisdom. I discovered what genuinely mattered to me, not just what I thought should matter. The freedom that comes from letting go isn't just emotional, it's practical. When we're not expending energy maintaining attachments that no longer serve us, we have more resources for what does. Jung noted, "The shoe that fits one person pinches another. There is no recipe for living that suits all cases." When we stop forcing ourselves into shoes that pinch, we can find those that actually fit. This freedom extends to how we view others as well. Jung wrote, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. As we release our projections and expectations, we can see people more clearly, not as characters in our personal drama, but as individuals on their own journey." Perhaps most importantly, letting go opens us to the present moment. Jung believed that the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. This transformation, this alchemy, is possible only when we're fully present, not clinging to what was or anxiously grasping for what might be. We've come full circle now. What began as an exploration of why letting go isn't weakness has revealed a profound truth. Letting go might be the most powerful move we can make. Jung wrote, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." This choice, this freedom to shape our becoming, is available only when we're willing to release what no longer serves us. The power of letting go lies in its paradoxical nature. By surrendering control, we gain authentic influence. By accepting what is, we create space for what could be. By releasing attachment to outcomes, we become more effective in achieving meaningful results. This isn't easy work. Jung reminded us, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. Letting go often hurts before it heals, but what awaits on the other side is worth the journey. As we practice the art of letting go, of outdated identities, unhealthy relationships, limiting beliefs, past hurts, we participate consciously in our own evolution. We move from being passive victims of circumstance to active creators of our experience. Jung believed that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. This becoming is an ongoing process of attachment and release, of holding on and letting go. Knowing what to grip tightly and what to surrender gracefully is the art of conscious living. So I invite you to consider, what are you holding on to that's actually holding you back? What would become possible if you found the courage to let it go? Remember Jung's wisdom. Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. That clarity, that power, awaits you on the other side of release. Thank you for joining me on this exploration. Until next time, be well, be brave, and when necessary, let go.